Okay, this is the second part to the vlog about my dad. But I'm about to go to his room. There's only 3 people allowed in the room at like one given time. Um, so I go into the room, and this is the point last time when I was trying to film that I bawled my eyes out, but I just did that, so I don't know if I will again. But I go to the room, and it was really hard to see him. He was on life support, and he had tubing all down his mouth and in his throat. It was really hard to see him like that. He had he was so drugged up, like he had so many things running through his system. Um, he had this glazed look in his eye. If anybody has ever seen anybody, in the hospital, they would know what I mean. But he had this glazed look in his eye, and his arms were strapped to the bed, so he couldn't move. All he could move was like his feet, or he could move his head, and his eyes were constantly like, there was a rapid movement. They were like constantly like looking around, and that was like really weird to see. I've never seen anybody like in that condition except for in the movies, and the movies can't even make it real in comparison. Like, you don't even know like how scary it is unless like you're in that situation. So I went in there. My mom was in there with me as well. She was on the other side of the bed, and she held his hand, and she told him she loved him, and she was like, Allison is here to see you as well. And she had said, like, if you know I'm here, squeeze my hand. So he squeezed her hand. Meanwhile, like, I didn't know what to say. Like, my dad's the type of person where, like, he doesn't really say how he feels much, like, and I don't do that in return. Like, I don't tell him often that I love him and stuff like that. Like, he knows, but it's just the kind of relationship he has with people. Just the typical man, I guess. But I held his hand and I said hello. And my mom had said, if you know that Allison is here, squeeze her hand. And he did. And it made me really happy that he did that. Like, that he knew that I was there. Like, the doctor had said that, he may have all these drugs running throughout his body, but he may remember, like, some of it, and he does understand the concept of, like, family members being there for him and stuff like that. But I stood there with him a while. Like, I just bawled my eyes out, like, when I first went into the room, because it was, like, a shock to see. And the doctor was like, don't worry, we're gonna get him better. But, of course, that's what they say to make you feel better, but really in his condition. But his, heart rate was way too fast for what they wanted to see. I don't remember if I said this in the past video or the one that didn't record correctly, but his heart rate was 160 and they wanted to see it at 60. His blood pressure was way too high as well. So the doctor was in there, checking up on him and everything. But I held his hand, and then my mom was there crying with me, and we were in there for quite some time, and my mom was going to leave. So I figured since she was leaving, I would leave as well. That way, like, a group of 3 brand new people could come in. And I had said, alright, Dad, I'll be back later tonight, but I love you. And I was about to leave, like, to take my hand away, and he quickly, like, grabs it, squeezed it, and then, like, kind of, like, rubs his, like, hand across mine, and, like, it made me really happy that he did that. That he knew that I was there for him. That he knew that I loved him, that he could grasp that concept no matter, like, how drugged up he was. So I left the room and let other people have a chance, and later that night, I went back in there with one of my best friends, Ashley, who I hadn't seen in years, and, I held his hand again and everything and stood there with him, and nothing had changed. His heart rate was still way too high and his blood pressure was high. And I told him I was there, and I asked him to squeeze my hand if he knew I was there. And that time he didn't. And, like, it upset me. But at least I had that time with him earlier that he knew that I was there. So at that point, I don't know if he knew I was there or if he was just in way too much pain or, like, what it was. But I was happy that he knew at least at some point I was there. So eventually, you know, everybody gathered up and decided to go home because, like, my mom hadn't slept in 48 hours. And so we all left, and the doctor said that they would keep us updated. And obviously I couldn't sleep that night. When I went to my dad's house, I slept in the room with my stepsister and her girlfriend. And my brother texted me about 6 a.m. saying that he wasn't doing too good. And then at 9 he sent me a text saying that he wasn't gonna make it. And that everybody needed to get there. And, like, when I got that text, like, I lost it. I started sobbing, and, you know, my stepsister bolted right out of bed and came to me. Like, she knew it wasn't good, so everybody gathered up and went to the hospital. And I got there, and the priest or reverend was standing by the bed, and his ex-wife and his daughter and his sister and my sister and my brothers and my mom and, like, just everybody was there, just gathered around the bed, and we all, like, held hands, and the reverend did her prayers and everything. And, you know, there was a lot of people in the room already, but then when I got there, you know, I was sobbing and whatever, and they had asked me if I wanted alone time with him. And I mean, we were all there for him. I didn't want to, you know, shoo everybody away, like, so we all stayed there. And his condition at that point, like, I looked at the monitors and his heart rate was below 60. Basically, all that was keeping him alive was the life support, and his blood pressure was way too low. And I held his hand, and his hand was much colder than the previous night. And, obviously, like, my mom had to take him off life support. Like, the doctors had said, even if you kept him on, like, you're just delaying the inevitable. It's the machine that's keeping him here, really. So my mom made that tough decision, and so they went and took out all that stuff, but first they had everybody leave the room so that the doctors could do that. And they said that that he probably wouldn't be able to say anything, but the tubing would be out of his mouth. So after all that, they had everybody come in, and he was off the life support. And it was really hard to see him breathe his last few breaths. My mom said, I wish you were here for my birthday, because her birthday was December 11th. She was saying, I wish that you would have been here for my birthday, and I love you. It was really hard to watch him pass. Like, I've never seen that in my life. To watch him lay there and just struggle to take the last few breaths that he had to offer. I don't think that anybody should ever have to see that. It's really traumatic. And as much as I'm the type of person that likes movies like that and stuff like that, it's really hard when it's, like, watching someone you actually love do it. So I don't even know if I can watch those types of movies anymore. Like, I don't know, or if it's just too soon. I don't know, but it was hard to see. So, yeah, he passed away on the 4th. And Christmas is going to be really hard